Naija YouTube channel. Thank you so much, guys. I really do appreciate all of my subscribers. If you are new to my channel, you are highly and very welcome. If you have not subscribed to my channel, please subscribe. I would really appreciate if you would do so by hitting on the subscribe button and then hit on the notification bell just beside to get an update when I do a new video, whenever I upload. Actually, today is on I'll be treating a subscriber request. A subscriber request is a series that I actually started on this Stylish Naija YouTube channel, where if you're actually having any picture on your phones of a style that you want to make, or you are just trying to figure out how it was made, you could send the pictures to me, and then if the picture gets selected, I will actually do a video illustration, making it so simple as possible in order for you to understand how the style was made. So you could go to Stylish Naija on Instagram, Stylish Naija, and drop your pictures, or you could go on Facebook at Stylish Naija Sewing Group. So those are the two handles where you could send these pictures to me. Like I normally say, please try and ensure to send me clean pictures. Do that, so it actually makes me to be able to figure out how the styles were made. So today you could see the picture of the skirt here. That's what I'm going to be teaching you today. So let's just get started. So guys, I'm actually going to be making use of this fabric to cut out this skirt for you, to cut and sew this skirt. But this is 2 yards of fabric, so you could make use of 3 yards, depends on how full you actually want it to be. But before that, because we don't want to waste our fabric because of the nature of the style, I'm actually going to be drafting it first on my pattern paper. After drafting it on my pattern paper, I'm going to be cutting out on that portion where we're going to be doing the slash and spread method in order for us to be able to achieve that pleat. So I'm just going to keep my fabric on the side and then I'll draft it here. So I have some couple of lines on my skirt already. I have the waistline, the hip line, the knee line, and then the hem line. That's the full length of my skirt. So you measure yourself and then you know the measurement that you are actually working with. So the next thing I'm just going to fold my paper, my fabric paper into two. I'm going to be drafting the front first, and then since it's a pattern, I'll use the pattern to cut out the front and then the back of the skirt. So the waist and measurement that I'm actually going to be making use of for this skirt today is actually 30 inches. So when you divide 30 into 2, so this is the waistline. That's the first part in drafting an A-line skirt. I'm sorry, I actually forgot to tell you, the frame of the skirt is actually an A-line skirt. So that's what we are going to be drafting now, an A-line pattern of a skirt. So the first thing I'm going to be doing now, the waist measurement, like I told you, I said the waist measurement is actually 30. So when you divide 30 into 4, you have 7.5. The reason for beginners for dividing into 4 is because our fabric is usually folded into 4, the front and then the back. So we have 7.5 here. This is my 7.5. So I'm just going to add a 1.5. That's 1.5, another 1.5, 7.5, 1.5 as my allowance that I'm going to be using for this skirt. So I'm just going to dot it out. And then the hip measurement for this skirt, I'm going to be making use of 40 inches. So when you divide 40 into 4, you have 10 inches. So this is my 10 inches. So I'm just going to add my allowance to it like this. So I'm just going to connect my lines like this. So I'm joining it. So this is my hip line. So the next thing I'm going to be doing now, since it is a pencil skirt, I'm going to be measuring the knee. And the knee is usually smaller by 2 inches. So it depends on how fitted you actually want it to be. You could decide to reduce from the hip measurement that is 10. You could decide to reduce 2 inches. Then you use 8, or you could decide to reduce more than that. So it depends on how fishy you actually want your skirt to be. So it's the knee that actually determines that. If the knee is smaller, the shape tends to come out more. But some people, they'll tell you they cannot walk, so they like it wide. When it's wide, it's usually not really fine. So that is just it. So you choose whatever you want. So I'm just going to be if I'm reducing, that's 8 inches, and then I'm just going to add my allowance to it also. So I'm just going to be dotting it like this. You see what I'm doing? I'm dotting it to meet up with my line. So I have my skirt frame almost done. So the next thing I'm going to be doing now, since this is a pattern and you could the down part of your skirt, if you depends on the width you actually want it to be. For this, so the width part of my skirt, I'm going to be using my entire pattern paper, which is 12 inches. So you could decide to measure, you could decide to make use of 15 inches. So it's still going to be okay. So from this point now, so this is just like the simple way of drafting an A-line skirt. It is really simple. So you could see the shape frame is already here. So I'm just going to connect now. So this is my skirt frame. So the next thing I'm going to do now, I'm just going to add the dart measurement. For the dart, I'm just going to make use of 4 inches, and then I'll come down by between 5 and 6 inches. So it actually depends on what you want. So I'm just going to connect it straight. So the next thing, I'm just going to cut it out now. So guys, this is our skirt frame. So this is what we are going to be working with. The next thing I'm going to do now, I'm going to rule a straight line here just to demarcate the center, because we are going to be cutting out a portion of this skirt. That is what we will use. So I just want to rule it to get the center straight. So now we have our center piece now. We have our center piece now. So the next thing I'm going to be doing now, I'm going to be cutting out 1/4 of this skirt portion. That's this part now. This left hand side. You could decide to put that pleat anywhere you want to, but I'm going to be cutting out this portion. So I'm just going to use my blue marker to indicate the part that I'm going to be cutting. So I'll cut from the knee part. So I'm going to be cutting out this part. So that is what we're going to be using. That is what I'm going to be expounding to get the pleat. But what I'm going to tell you for this skirt, on your actual fabric, you don't cut it off. So that is why when making this skirt, you have to make use of a pattern. You just need to make use of a pattern in order for you to be able to achieve it. So don't cut out your original fabric. You have to make use, just cut your pattern. I'm repeating it like this now because I don't want you to spoil the fabrics. So guys, this is the part now that we'll cut off. So I'm just going to take this part, I'm still going to come back to it, but I'm going to just keep it on the side. So the next thing I'm going to do, I'll just keep it on the side, and then okay, this pattern, you could decide to do it in 2 ways. I'm going to show you how to do the slash and spread, and then the normal freehand on. So I'll just keep it now and cut out my fabric. Let me cut out my fabric first. Okay guys, so you could see my skirt. So I finished cutting out on the skirt. So I'm just going to take one piece and keep it on the side now. Okay guys, so like I said, like I'm just going to go over it again. So we took out this portion of my skirt, that's of the skirt and pattern. So I cut it out. So the next thing I'm going to do now, I'm going to be working with this. And this is just like what I'm basically going to do. From the knee length, I'm just going to pleat, I'm just going to slash this, and then we'll replete it, and then we'll put on top of this point. We're going to be attaching it on top. So but before then, I'm just going to show you how to achieve the pleats on this. So I'll take my fabric. So guys, in achieving such skirt, there are some basic rules like standard that you have to follow, or else it won't fit well and it won't just look nice. So the first thing that we're going to do, I'm going to be measuring the part, that's the knee part of this skirt. So I'm just going to put a mark on it. This is the knee part. This is the knee part. Then this is the right hand side, and then this is the left side, and then this is the hemline, that's the down part. So I'm just going to put on those these annotations on it like this. So the next thing I'm going to do now, I'm just going to measure. So what I actually have here, I have 9 inches. So for this, in achieving a skirt like this, the first thing that we are going to do, since we are going to be sewing, turning, and then placing, I'm going to be adding the top point. I'm going to be adding 10 inches to, sorry, I'm going to be adding 2 inches to it. So I know that at the end of the day, the top part of my skirt is going to be 11 because the slash is not going to get into that point. So the next thing, I'm just going to place it like this, and then depends on how wide I actually want my pleats to be. So I could decide to do 1.5 inch pleats, so that I will determine from the down part. So since the down part I have 12 inches, so what I'm going to be doing now, I'm just going to divide it. If I'm going to be doing it 2 2, that's if I'm going to be using 2 4 6 8 10. So I'm going to be slashing along these lines. I'm going to be cutting along this line. I'm going to be cutting along this line. So, and then I'm cutting to the top part of my skirt. So I make use of my long ruler. I'm just going to rule out the lines first. I'm just going to leave it like this. I'm not going to slash this slanted part. I'm just going to be leaving it because it's not supposed to be straight. So I'll leave it like that. So and then I'll cut. So I finished cutting my skirt. So the essence of cutting this of slashing this skirt is just for me to get a wider width of the fabric that I'm going to be pleating. But if you want to actually make this skirt and you want to use the freehand method, not using the pattern method, what you would do after cutting out your pattern like this, you take another fabric. I'm just going to explain it before I continue with what I'm doing. You take another fabric. You could just decide to use your eye just to gauge okay, I'm just going to be making use of this size of fabric for this. So you take another piece of fabric like this. I'm just using as example. You take another piece of fabric like this, and then what you would do, you just take this pattern, you keep it, and then you make sure that the length is the same. You measure out the length, that's the length, make sure you have the same length, and then you pleat. You just make your pleats on it. I'm just going to explain it to you if you want to use the freehand method of achieving this. So you just pleat. So you're just going to pleat like this. And then after pleating, what you would do, after pleating, you take the piece that you cut initially. That's so I could cut out this other part. Let me just use it to illustrate it for you so it will be simple and easy. So you take out this part that you've cut already. All you do after pleating like this, that's if you are using the freehand method. After pleating, you just take a fabric, measure the length, and then you pleat it. After pleating, you take what you have like this, and then you place. So you can see what I have. You just place, literally you place on top like this, and then you measure out. So the only thing that you are going to be adding to it, you are just going to be adding allowance around the edges of it. So you could add a 1 meter allowance just around, and then you just trim it out nicely. You trim it out nicely, and then you attach on top of your skirt. So that's just like the free hand method of making the skirt, and it's really simple and easy. But if you so now for the pattern method, that's the slash and spread method. So this is what I'm going to be doing. I'm going to be opening them up, but before then there's some measurement that I'm going to be doing. So the first one, I'm going to be adding 2 inches allowance to the top spot. I'll add 2 inches to the top, and then add 1 inch to the upper part. So everything that I'm adding is going to be like 3 inches, or you could use 2.5 meters. It will still be okay. So I'm going to measure it out first. So like I said, I'm adding allowances to it. I'm using 2.5 meters of allowance. So you measure 2.5 from this point, and then I'm connecting them together. So you could see, guys, so this is how much fabric I'm going to need. So the next thing I'm going to do, I'm going to make sure that I cut on this part. It has to be equal, it has to be straight. That's this slanted part. It has to be the same with my fabric. So I'm just going to cut it out like this. So I have it on the same. So the next thing I'm going to do, I'm just going to mark where I'm going to be pleating. I'll just mark them out. I'll mark them out and then mark. So I'm just going to cut it out. So this is like how much fabric that I need. So I'm just going to take this and then I'm going to pleat this now. So that's what I'm basically going to do. Before you start pleating, you leave like 1 inch on this side. So that is what you are going to use to attach it. So because of the spread, you have enough allowance on this, so you leave 1 inch on this end. That I'll show you how to attach it when you are attaching on the fabric. So I'm just going to continue like this and just pleat out everything nicely, following the mark that I put on it. Okay, guys, so I finished pleating it. So I'll measure and then make sure that the measurement is accurate, and then including my allowance is included, and I'm going to use to stitch on it. So I'm just going to trim it out properly, making sure that everything is in place and in order. So the next thing, I'm going to take my skirt. So I'm just going to place it. So I've already marked out on the knee line measurement. I'm just trying to check to make sure it's going to fit properly. So the next thing I'm going to do now, I'm going to look for the center line of my skirt and then mark it out. I'm going to look for the center line. So this is my center line. So this is where I'm going to be attaching my skirt, the pleats that I've done. I'm going to be attaching it, and then this side is going to be on this side, making sure that this side will fit properly into it. So in attaching this skirt, so this is just like the simple thing that you have to do. God. So guys, in attaching this skirt, all you have to do is cut out you turn it. That's this piece like this. You sew it and turn it with your lining or interfacing, whatever. And then I'm going to take it to my machine and show you how to attach it. It's really simple. So let's just go to the machine and do that. Okay guys, welcome back to the sewing and machine. So sewing machine, my machine, whatever. So welcome back guys. So I'm just going to do a quick explanation on what I did. So on our pleats here, because of the extra allowance that I added to it, so I was able to fold the edge. So you could see this edge, so it's neatly folded out, and then this edge also is neatly folded out. So you could decide to do that to the hemline also. That's if you are using interfacing to turn this. But for this, I'm not using interfacing. So if you are using interfacing, you make sure you lock up the whole edges and it's clean, and it's like the one on the picture. Like the one on the picture, they just used thread, that's thread and design. They did thread design on top of the pleat, so you could decide to either make use of even a different fabric. You could try that out, make use of it, as in that's using a different fabric for this pleat, and then placing on your skirt. It will still be fine. So you could see the edges is neatly locked out. So what I'm going to do now, I'm just going to take it like this. I'm just going to be placing it. I'm just making sure that on the point where I'm going to be placing it is accurate. So this is the point. So I'm just going to be stitching. I'm going to be doing a top stitch on it. I'll stitch it from up down. So I'm just this ones, they just get coming out. So I'm just going to pleat it back like this. So I'm just going to be running a stitch on top like this. I'm going to be running a stitch. So I'm just going to do it when as I'm sewing. I'll be fixing it. So I'll start from this point like this. So I'm going to be running a clean stitch on top of it now like this. So that's just basically, I'll run a stitch here, but this side I'm going to be leaving this side because this side is going to be connected to the back part. So I'm going to be running on this center line now. So guys, we return back to our table, to the cutting table. Let me do a quick explanation. Okay guys, welcome back guys. So you could see the pleats. So I've achieved it. So the next thing that I'm going to say to you is this pleat, you could decide to make it longer, or you could decide to still make it shorter. So you could decide to you could even decide to start your pleats from the top point. So you could decide to make a straight pleat, that's from the top to the bottom. You could decide to start it from your hip line. You could decide to start it from wherever. So all you have to do is just follow this pattern, and then you use it to achieve your pleats. So that's just basically that. So the next thing I'm going to do now is just to couple the whole skirt together. So that's just basically. So I'm just going to go ahead and do that now, and then show you the skirt when coupled, how it will actually look like. Okay guys, so welcome back guys. So you could see I finished coupling the sides of my skirt together. So I've coupled the back and the front together. The only thing that is remaining for me to do now is just to fix the waistband and then hem the down part of my skirt. So this is just like basically how you actually achieve the pleats on this skirt. Like I said initially, if you actually want the pleats to be longer, you could decide to start your pleat from this point. So you could decide to start your pleat from this point, and then you still achieve the same result, just the way. You could decide to start your pleat from this point. It will actually be fine. Or you could even decide to start the pleat from the top point. That's from it's running from the top point to the down part of your skirt. So you could do that. So guys, I have now come to the end of this video illustration. If you find it helpful, please do not hesitate to hit on the like button. Subscribe if you have not done so already. So thank you so much. I will see you